It was a weekend of protests and parades. Patricia, which did you go to? Did you attend a parade or a protest
I
this
did
weekend?
not go to either. I attended my swimming pool in my backyard.
Really?
It was nice and hot.
You just don't love your country.
I love it enough to stay home and not bother them. I'm a big nuisance. Nobody wants me around.
I don't know. Didn't you get invited?
I did, actually. I got a text message from a relative saying, I kind of want to go to these protests today, but I'm scared that, I don't want to go by myself. And I said, darn.
So what? So let me ask a question.
I just said, yeah.
Let me ask a question.
What's up?
I don't mean this as an offensive question, but what did your relative think you were going to do?
Probably say, oh.
No. I mean, if they were afraid to go by themselves, what were you going to protect them?
I guess. I don't know. I've never even been in a fight in my life.
You haven't?
No, I've never fought anybody in my life. I don't think I've ever had to.
Okay.
No, I've never been in a fight. I wouldn't know what to do. That's what I'm saying. I was just like, yeah, that's a tough one. I get wanting to voice your opinion, but yeah. She just sent me a sad face. So she ended up not going either. And look, it was a good idea because some stuff.
It was hot.
Yeah, it was hot. I had better things to do, like be with my children on that day.
She was.
And
the
some father people, of my child.
Some people took their kids to the protests.
I know. I did see that as well.
So what do you think? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Personally, for me, I would not do that.
Okay, so I saw this and I thought to myself, I wonder if it upsets me because it's about President Trump and I voted for Trump, or if I would be upset either way. And I think I'd be upset either way. I saw a video of a girl probably 5 years old and at a protest, and they were beating a piñata of President Trump.
I saw one with them beating ice.
Yeah.
Piñata.
Yeah.
I just don't think that it's the right way to show them, especially now with the violence and everything that's going on. I get wanting to voice your opinion and wanting to be heard and being hurt. And there's a lot of people right now that are hurt and they don't know what to do. And this seems like the right thing to do, but it is accomplishing nothing, I think, in my eyes.
Yeah.
And also, it's just bringing people out that want to be violent, an excuse to be violent in big crowds. And that, for myself, I have better things to protect at home, like my children,
right,
and leaving them there. And myself, for that matter. I have to take care of them.
The shooting that happened in Minnesota.
Oh, gosh.
Awful.
Very.
Awful.
Unfathomable.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But they're trying to blame rhetoric from one side, but there's rhetoric on both sides. Just because somebody tried to assassinate President Trump twice, and yet the rhetoric continues. We all get angry, we all get upset, but what are we trying to accomplish? I don't know what either accomplished is part of my question.
Right. And actually, I put a poll right now on our Twitter.
Yeah.
About what we think, did these protests accomplish anything? And 81% are saying no.
Right. And I also understand.
There's votes on there, too. There's quite a bit.
I would agree with you guys, but I think from my opinion, my point where I do associate with people who are probably undocumented and for them, we passed by a big protest and I was with somebody who's from Mexico. And there was nothing but white people and they're like, the gringos are supporting us? And that was very heart-taking for them because they think that all the gringos are against them because of what Trump is doing.
And see,
and that for her to see that was amazing to her. And I think a lot of people who don't feel supported out there, who feel divided, I think, in my opinion, Mike, this brought awareness and sort of like, okay, there is some support for us. We're going to stop being trampled upon.
I just think that the problem is that they're not supporting anyone. They're anti-Trump because when President Obama did basically the same thing, nobody protested that. I just think it's using the issue. I hate that it's a fight. I want you to hear Eric Swalwell. This is Eric Swalwell, the congressman, and demonizing ICE agents.
And I have been completely floored by regular people who tell me this does not look like America. Mm-hmm. Show your faces. And I think as Democrats, I've heard from enough colleagues that when we're in the majority, when it comes to ICE enforcements, we are going to require them to show their faces for the safety of every American. But also, if you're not doing anything wrong and you're standing on the law, you shouldn't have anything to hide.
They have to hide their identity because they're being doxxed by people and their families are being threatened. But furthermore, it goes even further than that. These are the same people that were angry about the January 6th, like I was. What happened on January 6th was absolutely awful. But there were FBI agents in the crowd that were undercover. Now, whether you think that they were part of the problem or not, they were not wearing jackets that said FBI. They were dressed as protesters. They were wearing MAGA hats. They were dressed undercover, and they went in there. They weren't identifying themselves. So why, this is, again, the hypocrisy of this conversation is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ludicrous. You're going to argue about how much it costs, millions and millions of dollars for the military parade. What did it cost to protect the protesters across this country? Why aren't we concerned about that? Why are we not asking that question? We're very concerned about this cost with the military. Was anybody concerned about the billions of dollars in arms that we left in Afghanistan when we pulled out of Afghanistan? Anybody arguing about how much that cost? You argue about these things when you don't have any other argument. They had a right to do it. I don't agree with the protests. I've been arguing for their right to do it peacefully. As a matter of fact, I've been hoping no violence happens so the protesters can be out there peacefully. I don't want to see a protest broken up because a bunch of idiots decided to infiltrate and get violent. I mean, it's stupid. Violent people ruin everything. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ludicrous. And when you do that, when you get violent and you ruin it for everyone else, you should go to jail. But I'm not arguing. I never once asked. There was a big protest in Scottsdale, in Old Town. There was a bunch of people on both sides of the road on Scottsdale Road in Old Town. I never once thought, wonder what that's costing Scottsdale police to protect. What about how hot it is out there and dangerous? Now you've got medical staff out there in case people get overwhelmed by the heat. The Capitol, state Capitol, thousands of people, millions of people, an estimate of 5 million people protested across this country of what's happening with these ICE enforcement things. I don't agree with the protest. They have an absolute right. No one should worry about the cost. It's who we are as Americans. And because there's been violence, we need the National Guard and we need local police and state police and the sheriff's department to make sure they stay peaceful. Protect people, protect property. No one's arguing about the cost. But we want to argue about the cost of a parade because you don't like the parade and you can't think of a better reason to say it's the wrong thing to do. I'd love to have that conversation with someone that wants to argue about the cost. It is the lamest argument there is about what happened. Absolutely lame.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.